I raised my head and breathed in the warm air of the swamp. It had been a while since I had been this far south, and I had forgotten how thick the air was here. Something felt different than I remembered. A certain stillness to the wild that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up and a dark, cold lump sit in the pit of my stomach. I pushed myself up from my knees I had been resting on to examine the ground. It wasn't much further now to my quarry. My prey was a witch hiding out in the swamp only a few miles from a recently established town. The town had put a bounty on the witch. I hadn't bothered to ask why. It didn't really matter. The money didn't either, for that matter. All that mattered to me was hunting down as many practitioners of black magic as I could. I moved quietly and quickly through the overgrown trees with my left hand resting on the hilt of my sword, carefully keeping it from dipping into any of the murky pools of water or dragging through the dirt. My clothes were covered in mud and dirt already, but that didn't matter. As long as my weapons were maintained and ready, that was all that mattered. I remembered what my teacher had said. Protect your sword and your armor, and it will protect you. I didn't wear much in the way of armor anymore. Usually didn't do much except slow me down against the things I fought. But my sword, that I always took care of. There weren't many things I had encountered yet that a sword in my hands wasn't capable of separating from this earth. It had taken me days to get this close. The witch had placed many false trails and traps to ward off any trying to hunt them. It was clear they were no stranger to being hunted. But not many could track witches the way I could. I tracked using the normal ways, yes, footprints, broken branches, disturbed ground. But I also knew what to feel for. Magic left a presence, and if you knew what to look for, it left a mark in the air. Most of my prey didn't bother to hide that mark. Witches were typically too arrogant to think that bounty hunters knew what to look for. But I wasn't like the others. I had lost count by this time how many times I had been on these hunts. Something did feel different about this one. This witch had taken steps to attempt to hide their traces more than most. Almost like they expected someone to hunt them that could feel the things I could feel. I pushed that thought from my mind. It didn't matter anyway. She hadn't been careful enough, and there was still enough for me to track her. A faint dark trail pointing the way through all the false trails and traps she had laid. The full moon overhead lit the woods with a flat, pale light, giving the swamp an oil painting quality that seemed to sit still around me as I moved further into the swamp. I was born far to the north in far different forests with mountains and rocks, but the moon made everything familiar. Its light had always made me feel at ease. Many would not have been willing to be hunting a witch in the dark, but I knew better. A full moon meant rituals, which meant distractions for a black magic user. The perfect time to move undetected through the woods. I started to feel the air becoming more alive. The familiar metallic taste in my mouth. I was close now. I quickened my pace. That feeling meant only one thing. Powerful magic. That's when I heard it, a scream echoing through the trees. A young child. My head snapped up and my mouth dried up. I broke into a sprint as I pulled my sword from the scabbard at my waist, so I started to see the glimmer of firelight dancing between the trees. The black trail I had been following started to thicken around me and break off in different directions, but it didn't matter now. I had found the source. I could see a clearing ahead, and the scene playing out in front of me made my stomach turn. I could see a small child trapped in a circle of flickering, burning light, and a witch with her hands out wreathed in black smoke and shadows flickering around her, as if alive. I charged into the clearing, raising my sword to strike her from behind, when she turned with superhuman speed, her hand outstretched as black smoke shot from her hand towards me. Too late, I tried to raise my arm to block it, as it struck me in the face, blinding me. I swung my sword down blindly, and felt it pass through the air where the witch had been a second before. I felt something hard smash into my head, then something else struck me in the stomach. I jumped back, trying to clear my face, and stumbled over the roots on the ground. I dragged my foot around to catch myself and stay upright. Getting my bearings, I pulled my sword in front of my face, ready to parry any following strikes, but they didn't come. Looking up, the witch hasn't moved from where she was, and now that I was closer, I could hear her chanting under her breath. She made eye contact with me as I demanded she stop and release the child, and I saw something in her eyes that made me hesitate. Fear, but not of me. Behind her, I saw the face of the child flicker, revealing something else beneath it. I felt the dark power hit me as I made eye contact with the child, and suddenly the whole world went black, and it was just me and the child. Only now I could tell this was no child. Her features shifted and rippled as if something was moving just below the surface of her skin. I tried to move or speak, but my body wouldn't obey me, and my soul was no longer in my hand. I saw visions beyond the child's eyes of death and destruction. I saw the truth of this unknown creature's fight with the witch, how it had manipulated people into hating her and hunting her and other witches. The darkness started to seep into my skin, and I could feel an icy coldness piercing into my bones. I felt the urge to just give in and allow this thing to take over. It was then that I heard a voice, like a shimmering crystal, slip into my ears, telling me to fight this, not to give up. I felt a burning anger start to boil up from deep inside me, burning away the ice piercing into my skin. This was my mind. I would not give it up willingly. I fought to push the heat outward and found my voice again. With a yell, I burst the fire forth and pushed the darkness back. For a second I saw the swamp again and felt the musty air on my face. Then the whole world went black as I fell towards the ground and passed out.